So I'm covering hardline politics, which most of my family works in some form of government or military. And so we spend a lot of our holidays discussing politics, and people fall in all different realms. And something that we've noticed over the last probably decade, especially, is everyone has gotten harder on their stances. And so it's an old school way to say, like, hardline politics means you are either Democratic or Republican, like fully down the line. There is no nuance. And I think that is something that is happening broadly in America, and it's troublesome. And my thought was, you see it with a lot of the late night comedians who interview people on the street, and they ask them what they think, and they'll say what they think, but then they have no hard evidence to support it. So my thing was, how can we get back to evidence-based anything, or how can we riff on people having an opinion that has, we don't know where it came from? Like, why do you actually feel that way? Like, so also this riffs on cognitive behavioral jurisdiction, which centers around cognitive distortions. And this is something that is especially applicable to our generation, which is absolute thinking. So black and white thinking, there's no gray, it's all or nothing on any given subject. You have to pick. There can't be a discussion about it. You can't be uncertain. And if you're uncertain, you're weak. I don't think that's the case. But, today's New York Times, if anybody followed it, the narrative version was basically about the new case that the Supreme Court is dealing with, which contends, there are two contending arguments. One is for free speech and one is against discrimination. And both kind of hold equal weight. And so we really have our work cut out for us, or certainly the Supreme Court does, in terms of figuring out where they're going to fall on this case. And there's all sorts of gray in this. But it was a really beautiful dissection of what these different arguments hold. And it's not a simple answer for either party, conservative or Republican. So my whole thing too was, how can we soften and consider, and in what ways can we get especially silly? Like, things that people take a hard line on. Does the toilet paper go up or down? And people would kill each other over that in a barroom argument. But, like, does it really matter? There's merit in both. And I know that really makes it a soft argument, because that's not something that a lot rides on, certainly not people's well-being. But if we were to soften it in that way, could we get people to understand that there is merit in simply trying to shift your perspective? The other thing that came to me was, what came first, the chicken or the egg? And people will go round and round about that. And I do actually feel like that has a lot to do with reproductive rights and where we stand on that. Like, there are actual religious arguments for both sides that preconception is not a life and that preconception is. And so I think it's kind of an interesting thing to examine. And you could take a cheeky look at it, or you could have a hard argument about it. I don't know.
All right, good